Vermont tourists flock to Quechee Gorge Village to browse artisan products, food, antiques, and more. But up the back stairs for decades has been a hidden gem, a sprawling treasure trove.
I'm at the Vermont Toy Museum in Quechee, Vermont. And the museum's been around over 20 years. And it was really put together to satisfy the customers that came here, to give them something to look at while they shopped, and then it grew. I broke out decades. I was born in 1950, so the 1950s case was first, with a small case dedicated to toys that came earlier than that. Cap guns and cast iron banks were made in the 1800s, in the late 1800s, by blacksmiths. I have a lot of toys that are space toys, so I dedicated one area just to space because that fascinated me. When I was young, I didn't have much money, but someone had given me a telescope so I could watch Sputnik, and so I think that was my connection. Since I didn't have many toys, but my best friend had a lot of toys and was very generous in sharing them, I was able to relive some of our childhood, my friend and I, by getting the games and the toys that he had. He'd get them at Christmas, and I'd go to his house and play with them.
A trip down the hall is to travel through time, seeing the iconic products of each successive generation. Besides the chronological path, the museum also features many themed displays. Fans of 3D will also notice a few Easter eggs.
There's a train layout behind me. It was built by two men. It took 1 year to build, Dave Ferrari and Dave Menard, out of Swampscott, Mass. And they're well known because they created fantastic scenery that you can see change as you walk around the layout. So you start in winter at Killington and Pico here in Vermont, and then it goes to Whitehall, New York, Mendon, Rutland, and then back. And so people are able to walk around the layout and see towns and villages and mountains and resorts that are in Vermont while they watch the trains. Trains were a toy, but they're also still in the homes of people who are passionate about having them as a hobby. Star Wars, Star Trek, they have their own cases. Star Wars has a much larger case only because they produce so many toys in a short period of time, and then with each additional movie, and that's fun for almost everyone. I think the first thing that really stuck out for me were lunchboxes. Everyone had a story, and it was a big deal when you went to school with a lunchbox and sort of projected who you were and what show you and your family watched. I didn't have one. We had a paper bag, and that's also in the museum. But for those kids that had lunchboxes, it was a big deal. So there's 1,100 lunchboxes in the museum. There's one room dedicated to toys you played with when you were alone, color forms, puzzles, medical toys. There's science kits. There's construction toys. There's magic toys. Home arcade games from the early games, which were large consoles, to today. There's a lot of premiums here because kids got their toys when they bought a product, like Cracker Jacks. And today it's McDonald's and it's Burger King and almost every company that wants to sell children a product as a giveaway when they order it. Ceiling has hundreds of board games on it, but people can see them as they're walking through and looking at the ceiling and realizing, oh my gosh, there's even stuff up there. And then they go looking for the games that they're familiar with.
Rather than focusing on the rare or the obscure, the idea is to have something that anyone from any era can relate to.
Many customers were saying that they had one of those, and gee, do you have this toy or that toy? And I realized quickly that they just really wanted to see their own memory. So for me, I really like to imagine the collections set up in a way that when people look at them, they find something that they wanted or that they have. There's a lot of unusual things, but I tried not to go down the path of unique and one of a kind, but rather things that a lot of people had or a lot of people wanted to have. I think the best part of having put the museum together is me being able to join or hear the visitors exclaim the joy that they have when they connect with something they had as a child. They can relate to the toy in a way that that others can't, and then when they express themselves, they're able to recall stories that they otherwise would not have been able to remember. So all of those are reasons that I love the museum, what it does to everybody, and no two are really the same. They're all very different. I even have a diary that a young gal had given me that she kept of her trolls and their troll village that she took to school and would write in her diary what she did with the trolls that day. That's amazing.
The museum's enormous collection extends beyond what is on public display, and the hope is to honor the donations received and grow into a new home.
Today there's over 20,000 toys around us in the Toy Museum, a lot in backstock, and there's thousands that have been donated by some really wonderful people. And their issue is the same. I have these things, can they be seen by the public? In the last 2 years, thousands of items from individuals have been sent in, and I don't want to negatively impact any of those as gifts to the museum. They too would like to see those items shared with the public. So that's the challenge I'm trying to meet. We are looking for a new home for the museum, and that is critical for me because I want to see it live on. I've had lots of people say that I'd like to buy your Star Trek or your Star Wars or your Barbies or your Cap Guns, but no, I'd much rather just see the museum stay together somewhere. The lease expires in October of 2023. That's just ahead, and so I need to find roughly 3,000 or 4,000 square feet where I can house the museum. I'd even be willing to work with a partner who already has a facility or a business and just share in some percentage of the gate, whatever really works. Again, knowing first of all that I want to see it where people will experience it, and secondly where it'll be preserved as a collection. In the meantime, it's going to continue as it is in a 3,000 square foot space. I hope some of you either contact me with an idea of where I might move the museum or would come and see this museum in Quechee, Vermont. It's right on Route 4 at Quechee Gorge Village. I'm grateful for everybody who has been to the Toy Museum, those who haven't. There are many great toy museums in the world. My experience is they don't last forever because someone has a dream and then it sort of falls apart. But go and enjoy a toy museum near you. You can find one and enjoy it.